Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today for this webinar. We're going to talk about patent tools and using AI agents and what is the next evolution for patent practice. I think evolution is probably a really great word to use. Things have changed over the years dramatically. They continue to change, and if we do this same conversation probably a month or two from now, it'll be even more different. It's getting more powerful, and what we can do as professionals with these tools is just really mind-blowing. I think you're going to really like what we have in store for you here today. So a lot to cover, so let's just get going right away. Renee, can you please introduce the speakers?
Happy to. All right, today on our panel, we have Dan Holmander. He's a registered patent attorney and co-chair of the intellectual property group at Adler, Pollack, and Sheehan, where he founded and leads the firm's patent practice. With more than 20 years of experience, he advises public companies, startups, and research institutions across sectors like medical devices, AI, and clean tech. Recognized by Chambers, IP stars, and super lawyers, Dan is known for helping clients strategically protect, commercialize, and enforce their IP. Next, we have George Kobler. He's a patent attorney also at Adler, Pollack, and Sheehan with over 25 years of experience in intellectual property law, both in-house and in private practice. He counsels clients on all aspects of IP, including patent prosecution, litigation, licensing, and due diligence. George also brings a unique focus on the entertainment industry, advising on agreements in music, publishing, and film, and is known for delivering practical business-oriented solutions. Next, we have Samir Raiyani. He is the CEO of IP Author, where he leads the company's growth and product visions for modern IP management solutions. With a background in technology, leadership, and software-driven businesses, he focuses on aligning innovation with the practical needs of IP teams. And last but not least, we have Gene Quinn. He's a patent attorney and one of the most influential voices in patent law and innovation policy. He founded IP Watchdog in 1999, which has become a leading resource for the global IP community. Gene is widely recognized for his expertise in software patentability and U.S. patent procedure and has repeatedly been named among the world's top IP strategists. Back to you, Gene.
Great. Thanks a lot, Renee. And once again, thank you all for joining us here today. We've got a lot of ground to cover. What I'd like to do, though, before we turn it over, we do have a bit of a presentation that we want to walk you through to show you a few things that we can then talk about, potential use cases that you might find interesting. Want to get everybody's big picture, but while I'm thinking about it, just want to make sure everybody understands we're not going to talk about any specific clients or any specific use cases today. We're going to talk about use in general. There will be some specifics. We're going to show you how you can do this, but it will not be using any specific case or specific client information. So with that, I'll kick it over to our panel. We'll give Samir the first crack at this. Big picture, Samir, where do you want folks to have their mind as we begin the conversation today?
I want to clarify. Thank you, first of all, Gene, for having us. It's really exciting to be here today with the panel, right? Dan, George, we've been working with them for a couple of years now. I think today our attention should be on agents. And I know it's a meaningless, almost meaningless terms. What does agents even mean? Are we talking about people we speak on the phone when we call, when we call United Airlines or something? What are these agents? We really need to know what these agents are, though, because they are going to have a significant impact on our professional lives going forward. So my goal today is to share the excitement that I have about agents, about all things agentic, and how it impacts our business and how it'll impact our work. So that's going to be my focus today, and really excited to share that with everybody here today.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Samir. Dan, let's go to you next. What is your big picture for the audience as we kick off here?
Yeah, the same as Samir, agents, and really the role of the human in the loop in developing agents. I think that with the tools that are being developed that we have with IP Author and others, you can really start asking questions that are much larger and more complex as a patent practitioner than you ever thought before. you're almost looking at yourself as more of an architect of methodology on how you actually structure those agents and how they perform, and then QCing those agents and making sure that they're doing what they're intended to do. And I think that as long as we continue to maintain our foresight in what is capable of being done with AI, our human in the loop will be not only relevant but actually high value.
Great. Excellent. Thanks, Dan. And last but not least, George, what are your initial thoughts here today for the audience?
Well, I think I come from a perspective of I think a lot of the audience. I'm not really sure what an agent is. I know Samir has explained it to me quite a few times, and I've read a little bit about it, but and I've seen I've seen the results of what an agent can do. But I guess what I would like to make sure that the that folks listening understand is it's like sort of like Dan said, it's not going to take away our jobs. We're still going to be needed, relevant, and so I don't think the AI revolution is anything to be afraid of.
I would agree with that completely. I think a lot of people still are a bit afraid. I don't get it myself. As the world gets more complicated, I've never seen a situation where there's less need for lawyers. And I don't see this creating less need for lawyers for a variety of reasons. We had a great conversation in preparation for this, so I won't go too deep in that, but I think hopefully by the end of the hour, you'll feel confident of that if you weren't confident already. Let me just post the poll question so the audience can, so the speakers can see who's in our audience. We have most of the audience, about half of those who answered the poll question, use AI for isolated tasks. Then we have roughly 25% that use it, don't use it at all, and about the same number that use multiple different tools. And we have just a handful of very power users, you might say, that use it across the variety of workflows. So good group here. Thanks for being here. And I will, before I kick it over to Samir, let me just remind you, if you have a question for the panel, please put it in the Q&A box. If you'd like to chat amongst yourself, go to the chat box. We also have Sandeep is going to be in the chat box. If you have any very specific questions about how things are done or how you might do them using IP Author, he's going to be available to answer them in the chat. But that's all from a preliminary standpoint, I think. So, Samir, I think we're ready to have you lay the foundation for the rest of the conversation, if you will.
Wonderful. So thank you again. So what I would like to do is to briefly touch upon who we are and what we are building. And I want you to learn a little bit about the firm that Dan and George represent as well, because that'll give you a sense of who we are and where we're coming from. So IP Author, we built this platform. We've been building it for almost 3.5 years now, from the beginning of this Gen AI wave of technology. It's a full-featured platform. We provide end-to-end tools for you to do patent searching, patent drafting, off-section response, doing prosecution intelligence, doing landscape and portfolio analytics, classifying patents, building claim charts, doing evidence of use analysis, the works. So that is the platform that we have built. That's the platform we have a number of companies and law firms around the world using, hundreds of companies and law firms around using our platform. And it is used by a wide range of companies and law firms working in many different areas. So with software, telecommunication, chemistry, pharmaceuticals, etc. Dan, a few words about your firm.
Thanks, Samir. Yes, we're a regional firm here in New England, and we have been around. Obviously, we started this group here at this firm. It's around since 1960, about 11 years ago. We focus on two main areas: artificial intelligence and life sciences. And we think that those are the two areas that obviously the Patent Office is seeing an explosion in terms of filings. We are both the creator of the assets, we monetize assets, and we also enforce. So we have all three viewpoints of the intellectual property asset class.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, as you know, as many of you know, we've been building the patent tools for doing searching and drafting and office action response and other use cases and scenarios that you face in your day-to-day work as patent practitioners. But as I said earlier, the evolution is going towards AI agents. Let me pause here and just focus on this term agents a little bit, right? You may have all heard about something called Claude Code, which is a tool from Anthropic that has been around for almost like a year, I would say, but it has suddenly become very, very useful over the last 6 months or so. And it's been so dramatically useful, so much more useful for developers. And I'm a software developer myself, that people are seeing massive improvements in productivity and just being able to do things that they were never able to do before. And that holds true for us and our company as well. We are doing things with Claude Code that we never could do before, or that was very, very hard. But what does it mean for other industries, for other knowledge workers? And I heard a really interesting talk by Anthropic themselves. Obviously, they were selling their own book. But one of the things they said is code is all you need. What did they mean? They meant that these tools that have been primarily written for coders can be used by everybody, and they work really, really well for everybody. But this talk, I heard it only a couple of weeks back. We have been using Claude Code and other agentic tools for patent work for a while now. And that has been amazing. That has been really, really exciting. So what is it that these agents are doing? Well, let's take an example of drafting a patent application. You would say, okay, in IP Author, you can say conduct a patent search, conduct a non-patent literature search, draft claims, develop the diagrams and descriptions, and write the full specification, and then, of course, edit and so on and so forth, right? So that is a very systematic, structured flow that we have in IP Author, and it looks somewhat like this, right? You have your documents, input documents, your invention disclosure, you have your claims, you have your diagrams and the respective descriptions to go with these diagrams, and then you have your final patent application, right? This is the process. But what we are now looking to do is, how can you go in different directions? How can AI take over in certain situations and help you move in different directions, right? And that is the beauty of an agent, where you can tell them your problem that you are trying to solve. Now you're not trying to draft a patent application or conduct a search, but you're saying, you know what? I want to build a patent application, or I want to build up my portfolio in a particular topic area. And the agent uses all the tools that it has access to from IP Author, for example, and it combines them together to do the job. Not only that, it can do things in parallel. So for example, you're saying, okay, I have these 3 competitors, X, Y, and Z. I want you to investigate all 3 competitors and tell me where I can build patent applications so that they will have applicability across all 3 of them. And you can do all of that today with the help of these agentic platforms. And that's incredible. It's really, really exciting. And I want to share some examples and demos for you. So, just that we all know about these challenges. There's siloed workflows. There's a lot of manual coordination. The UIs are all locked in. They are very, very specific. What we are trying to build is these platforms that are much more flexible and much more dynamic. So if we want to go from fixed pipelines and locked in UIs and sort of human orchestrated to things where the cycles of the activities can be mixed and matched. They can be managed by agent tools, and your workflow is what wins, right? Like, you can design your own workflow. I call it build your own adventure. So that is what agentic technology is about. That's what we are excited about. That's what we want to share with you. Again, this is as much we are trying to share our excitement as we are trying to sell our tools, to be perfectly honest. But I'll pause here, Gene, for your thoughts on where these things are going. Dan, George, if you want to chime in before I jump into some of the demos, etc. at this point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I
I
would
wanna-
like to hear
Gotcha.
what Dan and George have to say, and maybe we could start with George this time. George, where do you see things headed? Like just what Samir was just talking about.
Well, going quite quickly, I think, to like what Samir was saying, is you enter your problem, the problem that you're trying to solve, not necessarily you don't give the AI a task. You say, this is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then the AI says, okay, well, here's your options on how to solve it. You want me to do this? And that's where we have been playing, at least in my experience, for quite some time now. Dan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said, and let me give you a kind of a root this in a patent attorney's perspective. If you're thinking about writing a patent application, a traditional patent application, you don't finish on the same page, right? You're ultimately, your ability to write a high quality patent application is based on your available time, the availability of information that you have both in your brain and other tools, AI including, and ultimately there's a time limit as to what you can do. When you talk about crafting an AI agent, you start actually basically supercharging that process. So the idea is that you can say, let's say you have a particular claim. And now you say, look, I want to build a patent application, 50 pages on this. And now you're using tokens in exchange for your time. So the tokens of the AI agent are going to be used on drafting, let's say, that first draft. When that draft comes back, it's not done. But what you've done is you've moved the ball down the line so that the quality, the amount of information that's been brought in, and the ability to actually use tokens in exchange for your time has really allowed you to actually bring you a better draft than you originally thought from just doing it based in the real-time moment with a regular AI process. Now, once you have that application, there's still going to be a human in the loop. And that is where we need to maintain the rigidity on our perspective on what actually is a high quality application. It's not there yet. Even by using the word AI or AI agent, the quality of those applications are still need to be refined, focused, and really rooted in an allowance and in a commercializable allowance. And if we don't do that, what we're doing is just generating a lot of AI slop. And that's my big fear, that as we go into the use of AI agents, that we're going to be generating a lot of slop and not enough focus on the actual what's relevant, commercially relevant to the client's best interest.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot here with respect to using these tools. And the one thing that I just to pick up on what George was saying is I do think there's a different way to interact with this particular tool than with other tools that have made their way into the legal system over my career, for example, and maybe we think about Westlaw and Lexis. We're just talking about that in preparing for this, is because, we all had that experience in law school of being taught how to use it for legal research and that sort of thing. And you ask it for a certain way, you prompt it this way, you prompt it that way. And that's not how you use these tools, AI. I mean, the more context you give the AI, it's almost like, if you're a gearhead and you're going to an auto place and you go to the guy at the counter and say, look, This is the car I got. This is the year. These are the problems I have. I've checked this. I've done that. I think what I need is this. Maybe I need that. What say you? You know, what do you have that will work for me, right? So you lay out all the context, you lay out the problem. Here's what here's what I've tried. This is what I think I might need. And then you say, okay, help. You know, what do I try next, right? Because if you don't give the AI the context, it doesn't give you the answers. At least I don't think it gives you the answers that you are really going to like. You give it more information, more context, more, this is how I'm going to use it. This is what I need it for. This is what it does. Oh, by the way, and then what we're talking about here in patents, this is the point I want to build the application around. You know, these are the things I think are the most unique. This is, you know, in my opinion, where we want to focus the claims or something like that. More context is the difference between getting something you're going to like and you're going to keep coming back to use, and just being dissatisfied, I think.
Yes. So let's jump into some examples, right? Like, I mean, what we have today on the IP Author platform is, if you think about it, we have a number of different capabilities on the IP Author platform, like searching, drafting, standards searching, prosecution, intelligence, etc. Today, it's all wrapped together into one burrito. You know, like we have one tool where you can go through these steps and do it. What we are offering now with the agentic IP Author is like a Chipotle kind of a build your own adventure model, right? So we have, you know, in the rice options, we have patent search and discovery. In the beans option, we have patent analysis. In the meats option or protein option, we have got prosecution intelligence and so on and so forth. So you get the idea. We have a lot of different capabilities available for you to mix and match. But you don't have to mix and match them yourself. The agent will do them for you. So you go to Chipotle and you say, I want a spicy chicken burrito today, and they will, or spicy chicken burrito bowl today, and they will pick all the options. They won't ask you which type of salsa you need or whatever, right? That is what the agent does for you. So let's look at some examples, right? Okay, so there are many ways in which you can access the agents. Here is the agent built into IP Author. Here we are saying we have drafted a patent application and we say, can you make the claims narrow? And the AI goes ahead and starts drafting a much narrower set of claims, right? And then you say, okay, great. It says the claims have been successfully narrowed, but it tells you the following sections in your patent draft may need to be reviewed or updated as a result of this change: summary, detailed description, and abstract. Would you like me to update them? You know, and which section would you like me to update? So I said, update all affected sections, right? And it goes ahead and modifies and all the affected sections: summary, detailed description, and abstract. And it says, I've updated these sections, you know, all the other paragraphs have been preserved. Please review and save the changes to apply them to your document. And it says no other sections have been changed. By the way, does claim 1 have proper antecedent basis, I asked? And it says, yes, that is indeed the case. And it says, would you like me to check everything else? So the agent is being extremely helpful here and answering all the questions for you, but also anticipating the types of things that you may want to think about and giving you an answer and explaining what happens next, right? So this is an agent built into IP Author tool by itself. But you can access all of these capabilities through your own agentic platform now. In this case, for example, I'm doing it from Claude Code. I told Claude Code, here are all the tools you have access to from IP Author. Start helping me. Find 5 recent Tesla patents, then get the prosecution pipeline of the most recent one. How did the company argue their way past the examiner? That was my question. So it searched the recent Tesla patents using IP Author. It got the top patents. Then it says, okay, here's the prosecution story of one of those patents. So it looked at IP Author's, you know, prosecution database, which is, you know, by the way, our patent database is all of the world's 150 million plus patents, all jurisdictions, you know, available at your fingertips. Similarly, the prosecution tool has all of the 89 million plus prosecution events, and it is searching through those and comes up with the story. And then it summarizes that, right? It summarizes the story for me. Okay. Then I say, okay, start a sub-agent to create a patent landscape. Now I'm saying, do things in parallel. Go look for Tesla's electric storage patents and look for SpaceX's power conservation patents, and we'll find the white space that SpaceX's patents fill in Tesla's storage portfolio. If you are into Tesla, SpaceX, like some of us are, you would be thinking about how these two companies are eventually going to merge into, one company. So here is the patent perspective on that merger, right? Or on one part of that merger. So the AI tool, in this case, Claude Code sets up these agents to use IP author tools and has them prepare these landscapes and do this complete analysis. And in the end, it produces this document, right? It says two patent landscapes were run in parallel, and neither company holds a meaningful footprint in the areas analyzed, and Tesla is that. But it does a crossover analysis. So it says these are the white spaces, gaps in Tesla's energy side portfolio. And then it says, these are the white space gaps in SpaceX side. But then it says, like, here are two areas where SpaceX will fill Tesla gaps, right? And it found those areas and recommended them. Now, these are not capabilities that are built hard-coded into the IP author platform. These are capabilities that the AI agents combine on the fly and prepare them. One of the questions I'm seeing in the Q&A was about privacy and security. Again, all these IP author has very strict privacy protocols. So we actually are ISO 27001 and SOC 2 certified. We have zero data retention guarantees from all our providers, all our model providers. So our request goes to their servers. The response comes back. They do not store the data. They do not use it for training their models, nothing. And we store the information, but only purely to serve you. We do not use any of your information for any other purposes, such as, model training, or we do not look at it. It is all purely for serving our customers. So in that sense, this environment is completely secure and it's private and it's only limited to you and your clients. So that is definitely our privacy guarantees. We have hundreds of customers, large corporations, some of the world's biggest patent owners, all using our platform. So we have really proven ourselves from that perspective. Coming back to the agents, how they work. Now you can access them in multiple ways, right? If you like a command line kind of interface, you can use it through Claude Code. If you like some kind of a web user interface, here's a web user interface where we said, search for Airbnb's patents in recommendation engine technology. It used IP author search and came up with these patents in this area. Then we said, okay, let's do generate some claims and check the claims for the following invention, which is around humanoid robot. It conducts it basically ran a search. It then generated the claims, and then it ran a search again, and we'll see what happens. So it did a prior art search in this area, and it says, okay, these are the novel aspects, and here are the potential challenges. Here is your novelty lies in this area. And so in between, it generated a whole set of claims for us, right? And those claims are exported into a separate document. So it basically conducted a search. It then generated the claims to work around whatever it found in the search, and then did a patentability assessment, novelty assessment of the claims that you had written. And it also suggests ways in which you can strengthen the claims that were generated, right? So you can have it iterate also. A lot of people are doing this with code.
Yeah, Samir, I want to emphasize the point, I think, here, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
This is where the human in the loop can add value, okay? Because, and I know that you're doing this for demonstration purposes, but as Gene was saying, how we actually set up, even with using an AI agent, we're still rooted in classic patent attorney prosecution principles. That how we train it, what we feed it, how we, and the way that I think of it as micro-sized bites of information, still even crafting the agent, you're still going to take that principle. And in that way, when you direct it to the right information, train it up, give it context, and add a lot of strong direction, you're going to cut in a direction that's actually going to lead to a better quality result. And in the less direction that you provide the tool, the more likely that it won't actually hit on exactly what you need. Now, the agents are a powerful tool, but I do believe that we still need to make sure that we're training properly. And I know that this was a quick example.
Yes.
There was a
So
question
let
asked
me,
earlier about commercialization. I just want to break that down. What I meant by saying that is when you think about the word commercialization, it's a very broad topic. That might mean different things to different people. What you need to do is bring in not just technical detail from what's in the marketplace, right? Not just the what's on sale, what's in the prior art, and can I get a claim? That's just sort of the basic stuff level, right? The next level is, can you bring in business intelligence? Can you bring in information that a CFO or CEO would know about the industry, a product manager, and bring that in and actually start using that in conjunction with your prior detail to help shape those questions that are being asked in the AI agents? And that's what the AI agents now aren't limited themselves to just patent data. You can bring in other useful information as well. So that's where we go back to the focus and the human in the loop. But I'm going to be, again, the arbiter of the human in the loop, because that to me is where these tools are powerful. My example is, you have a Formula F1 race car, and everyone's going really fast. Ultimately, somebody's going to win. What's the difference is the human in the loop. So sorry, Samir, I just wanted to bring that as a point.
yeah, no, I think some of the points you made are amazing, right? So if you think about it, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when Gen AI became kind of usable, we were in this model where we were kind of writing these long prompts and chain of thought and reasoning and so on, right? And that was primarily written by technology companies, people like us who are sort of bringing teams of experts together and coordinating the whole thing, because the models were difficult to use and the agents were not very smart, right? Today it's different. Today these tools, you can compose them, you can combine them to make your own adventure, to build your own adventure. So one part of it is, you can decide at this point like what you want the agent to do. In my case, the examples that I set were very broad examples, right, where I just gave very high level instructions and it figured out. But you can be much more specific. You can say, okay, first you go and do this landscape analysis, then pause, wait for me to pick the areas that I want to pick. And then you pick those areas that you want to deep dive in. You can then probe, you can ask questions like we did on the chatbot. You can ask questions like, explain to me, really, is this a white space? Let's go into the details of all the SpaceX or Tesla patent applications that we came across. Let's go into the details. You can really, really hammer the system, and you can then craft it. You can mold it to your own workflows, to your own style, right? So now you can use IP Author as a tool to build a patent practice that is unique to you and your clients. And you can customize it on a per client basis, on a per product division basis, on a per application basis, if you will, right? So it gives you a lot more control. At the same time, you can also put in very clear-cut QA points, right? So you can let it go, do its work, and then keep things ready for you to QA at various milestones, so that now you are supervising it. Again, we don't have enough time to go through all the various ways in which these technologies can be used. My goal today was to just make sure that everybody in the community knows that we also have the same sophisticated tools that every coder is going gaga over, right? Every software developer is going gaga over. We have the exact same tools. We have the exact same capabilities for us using our platform. So that's what I wanted to communicate.
Yeah,
So
and
Samir,
Samir,
can I just ask
okay.
you before, like, the idea of agents for some people, and I think even George said, he knows what they are and he doesn't know what they are all at the same time. It's sort of, this is a new, it's sort of a new feature, I suppose, is the way to say it. So like, how technically, like in a nutshell, if somebody says, well, how did you get Claude to use IP Author? Yeah, I mean, because
That's a really good question.
And then the other, and maybe can you talk about the confidentiality or attorney-client privilege associated with the agentic use specifically?
At one level, you use many different tools, right? Like you use research tools, you use Microsoft Word. The attorney-client privilege does not change. All of this data is in your, like, nobody is storing that information, right? Like the AI agents, that the AI tool providers are not storing that information. We are storing that information only to the extent like it's your cloud storage. That's all we are providing. So all the same attorney-client privilege, rules that nothing changes from that perspective. It is all secure. It is all under your control and only your control, right? So if you choose to share some of this information with your client, fine, you do it. And as long as you are in the loop as an attorney, everything is covered under attorney-client privilege as far as I'm concerned. I'm not an attorney, so beyond this would be beyond my pay grade, but nothing much changes from that perspective, right? Now, coming to the second question that you'd asked, which was about how do you get to use it? We have, like, these tools are flexible enough that you can use any agentic platform. So this is an agentic platform that works in the web browser. It's very simple to use. It's a chatbot, like, you can use it. You can use it inside IP Author, as I showed you earlier. Or, if you are comfortable with using it with Claude Code, if you're comfortable with using Claude Code, we can provide you the steps you need to use to connect our engine with Claude Code, and you can use it. Now, this toolkit is available in a closed beta at the moment. So if you want to sign up, it's agenticai.ipauthor.com. I was going to show you at the end, but since the question came up, I'll just mention agenticai.ipauthor.com. You can sign up. You can sign up at ipauthor.com and let us know if you're interested. But agenticai.ipauthor.com, we have a separate form where you can tell us your interest, right? So it's not complex to set up. It's relatively intuitive. But, something like Claude Code does get a little intimidating at times for users who have not, logged into a command line interface since the days of MS-DOS. I wouldn't subject you to this. We will provide you with this easier interface to use, the more web browser-based interface, and it works equally well and equally effectively.
So in a nutshell, you connect, in this example, Claude Code with IP Author. It's using your curated backend and the power of Claude Code.
Correct. So we have provided a set of, thank you, this is important. We have provided a set of 36 tools. Every day, the tool number keeps going up. But to begin with, we have about 36 tools. So, for example, they do things like search assignee information, prior art searching, family, corporate trees. We have all of these types of capabilities built into the patent search set of tools. On the prosecution intelligence side, it will give you examiner profiles, rejection similarity, etc. On the patent drafting pipeline, you have this, disclosure to IDF generation, from IDF to claim generation, from claims to figures and spec generation and assembly. So we have 36 such tools. So what you do is you start off and you say to Claude, here are the 36 tools that you have access to. Mix and match them and provide help us solve these or answer these questions. And it will determine which of these tools it needs to use in what sequence. Now, we have provided, along with these tools, we have provided very detailed information as to how these tools can be used. So, we also have composed these different tools in various ways. So, for example, when you saw the Tesla energy landscape, it was using 10 such tools strung together. And that is how it built the interface. And it took a while, it took like a half an hour or whatever. But it does the job by itself.
So Dan, I think a few minutes ago before I took Samir.
I don't know. if you want to mention the poll question.
Yeah, we have a poll question going up right now about what matters to your team most when adopting new AI tools. And Dan, I think before I ask Samir the question about the agent there, you were going to say something?
No, I think going back to George's point about let's not lose sight of who we are and what we're doing. The agent is still a tool. It's still something that you have to, I'll call it quality assurance or quality check. Okay. So when you get results from this process of using, whether it's Claude or whatever tool you choose, whether it's agentic or AI in general, you still actually now have to develop your own internal process for how you quality control the results that you get. Okay. And you should have a checklist and you should have a quality assurance checklist and you should be able to identify whether the methodology was sound, whether the results are on target or not. And if they're not, you should be able to explain why they weren't, and you should be able to do it again. And I think that if you again, you look at the architect, which is the initial setting up of the agent, then the second part is when the results come, your next part is quality assuring or quality checking the methodology and process by which the AI agentic was used. And you have to be able to articulate that you knew how it worked and what it did and how it went about that process. And then you have to look at it just like you would in a traditional, when you think about when people go out and commission patent searches and you get those methodology reports back on using Boolean operators, you are, as a patent attorney, should be able to read that and say, yeah, that was a good quality search. You should be able to do that now with AI agents and with AI searching. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't use the tools. So that's because ultimately you're not in control. You need, as a human in the loop, to maintain control of the process on how it's working. Not necessarily the sweat equity. The sweat equity is what's coming out of this process, but that is what's driving obviously the efficiencies. But the ultimate beginning, middle, and end of this is still within your understanding, within your control to a degree. Obviously, we don't know exactly how. No one really knows exactly how AI works, but you should control it to the degree with which you can.
Yes. So Dan, that's exactly the, if you look at the answers, everybody, the most important point for all the, the majority of the audience is like output quality and accuracy, right? That is the key question. That is the key thing that matters. And that's where, these tools are really, really designed. Like, that's why we are in the loop, right? Because we've been working with patent practitioners like yourselves for over 25 years. We understand how important every single piece of information is. We understand that, these numbers matter. So when you say that, like, Tesla has like 534 patents related to, let's say, the display inside the vehicle, then those 538 patents should be the ones that matter, right? And we do that. So all these tools do have QA built inside them and do have steps built inside them, and they provide that information. They make it transparent to you. So these are not black boxes, right? They are going to provide that information to you to answer. So some of the questions that come up, like who is the inventor, etc. No, the inventor is the inventor you're working with. You are doing this. If you ask the AI to start inventing, that is on you. But the tools that we provide do not do inventing. The tools that we provide are saying, okay, here's the invention. Let's convert it into a formalized disclosure so that then we can run it by the inventor and make sure that we are all on the same page. Let's make sure we have a tool inside IP Author which will ask questions to the inventors to clarify any missing pieces of the invention. So we design tools exactly for the purpose, exactly addressing the questions that you're asking, right?
Yeah, and that goes back to the context, right? Is like, I find when you're using AI, if you can tell it like, well, here, you're not saying, I generally have an invention that deals with GPS. Please write up a description for me. So no, it's not how it works. What is, here's the invention, and then you tell it, and what I want you to do, what I need done is the following, and you're giving instructions. And it's much the same way as you've done forever with your patent agents that work under you, or new associates that work under you, or your patent paralegal. You don't just throw something on their desk. You put it on their desk and say, okay, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And it's just, you have to, with this particular tool, literally spell it out in ways that maybe with a human you don't necessarily have to, because they can figure some things out. But obviously with a human, the more context you give the human, the better the output as well, to make sure that they're actually doing what you want them to do. So I think everybody's got the skill set to use AI to get out of it the best quality. You just have to take a step back and say, how am I provoking it? How am I asking it to help me? Because it's not coming up with this stuff on its own. Because if you leave AI to its own devices, what it comes up with is not great. What's great is the stuff that you give it. It makes what you give it better, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's adding anything inventive in there. What it does is, when I use AI, what happens is I'm asking it, it's adding stuff, and I say, okay, well, then that's good. I like how you phrased that. It's not something I didn't give it, but now the phrasing is better. And then that gives me an opportunity to then go from there and go from there and go from there and build on it iteratively. George, how do you use it?
I use it in a very conversational sort of way. Context is key, like you said. And I go, for example, if I'm drafting a patent application, hopefully I have a good detailed disclosure, but sort of in the case of IP authors, sometimes it'll work with just a paragraph and riff a little bit, not invent, but expand on what could possibly the inventor have meant with that particular amount of disclosure. But certainly you go back, you check with the inventor. Is this what you meant to say? Is this the invention? But then going back to drafting the application, I wanted to say also, you had said it's like giving it to an associate. And usually if an associate's never drafted a patent before, what you're going to get back is garbage, no matter how much you tell them or context you give them. I think with especially nowadays, what we're getting from a first draft from an AI tool is much better. Now, is it perfect? No, you cannot go in and just sign that off and send it off to the patent office. Like everybody said, you've got to polish it, but it's a much better starting product to work with. Now, going from there, I still do a QA on the product that it gets out, and I do it, like I say, a conversation type of process. I go, what I see from this invention, does this make sense to you, sort of thing. It'll come back and say, oh, well, yeah, I see that too now. So it's almost to the point of a collaboration rather than a a boss or with a subordinate type of arrangement.
I agree. Dan, what are your thoughts? How to use it?
I wanted one more thing too, and we talked about this before the call. The patent office is seeing things. I was having a call with the examiner one time, wasn't our case, and they were talking about receiving 50 and 60-page arguments and office action responses, right? And we call that AI slop, right? Like, the idea is now that you can, because you have AI, you can put more words on paper faster. Okay, well, that doesn't necessarily mean the result that you're looking for. And in fact, that specific examiner I was talking to said, when I got that 60 pages of argument, I replied with 2 sentences. Basically, this is not persuasive as written. And that was dismissive of the entire 60 pages. So if we think that just putting more words on paper or putting more words in a digital environment, using AI is going to actually improve patent quality, reduce the life cycle, reduce the life cycle to patent grant, increase the patent quality, increase commercialization of patents. It's not. It's actually a powerful tool, but still needs to be refined and used in a way where you're still being very salient in what actually you're focused on, what your points of novelty are, what actually is not novel and not obvious. It goes back to the fundamental principles. We can't lose sight of that, because if you think about what pro ses are doing right now, and it's happening in all of our practices. Pro ses are running patent applications and filing them, and they're turning in AI slop. And if we as a patent practitioner class are going to be relevant relative to that class, they're going to see over time that those applications are don't have the lack of focus. It's kind of like an omnibus application with no real clear direction. They're ultimately not going to get the result they want, and they're going to come back to standard patent prosecution strategies using patent attorneys. But if we let the AI tools ourselves and not commanded to actually be very specific and precise on what we're trying to accomplish, we're going to get the AI slop. And again, the patent office is just tuning that out.
Yeah, and we were talking about this leading up to this. Slop in, slop out is, you shouldn't be filing documents that have a lot of AI slop where it's just you. And by that, what we're talking about is just unnecessarily voluminous, I guess, is probably the best way to put it, right? And from my standpoint, I think, great, start with the unnecessary voluminous, and then you as the professional cut it back, cut it back, cut it back. And I'm reminded by the Mark Twain letter, the famous quote in one of his letters. He apologized at the beginning for I apologize for the length of this letter. I did not have time to make it shorter, because the editing down process refines everything. It clarifies, it highlights, it streamlines, and that's what is persuasive. And if you are, I think these tools are great, because we all know the Federal Circuit wants more and more and more and more disclosure, but it's got to be disclosure with a point, not just thrown up against the wall, right? Because the more you do say, the more that can and will be held against you. You all know we should be getting Miranda warnings before we file applications.
I would like to.
So what you need to do is, I think, use these tools, get as much good information as you can from them in a collaborative way, as George was saying. And then you, as the professional in the loop, as Dan is pointing out, you decide what goes in and whittle it down, whittle it down. And if you do whittle it down, and then you go back to the AI and you get into this loop, then I think everybody that's used it starts to see, my goodness, this is really very special. The quality goes way up. Things that, I wouldn't have been able to do in this length of time, I can now do, making it all the better. And if you're not using it, get off the bench and start playing with it. You're going to be shocked, I think.
Yeah. Just kind of bringing the discussion back to what we are, some of the questions that are coming on the chat fast and furiously. Sorry, we are also going to be short of time. So I just want to cover a couple more points. One of the questions was, what are these 7 different search tools in the search and discovery side? The tools do things like, they search patents, they search prior art, they expand patent families, they enrich patents, they analyze patent families. Again, these tools are available to the AI agents, and they will use them wisely. They will use them appropriately. So, for example, classify patents, right? Based on the taxonomy you provide, based on CPC modes, based on auto categorization. You can map claims. You have prosecution history, find similar rejections. So these are all the different tools that we have created, that we continue to create, right? We are creating lots and lots of tools every day, and we are teaching the AI to do things in specific ways. But what this means is that if you and your client have a particular workflow, then you can basically design that workflow using these tools, and then you can say, here is the workflow. Here, let's call it a skill. In the Claude Code world, they're called skills. You created a skill now that is very proprietary to you and your client, or just to you and your firm. And that skill, then you can apply consistently and reliably, right? One of the things, there's a lot of discussion and focus on, content and drafting and so on. But one of the amazing things that we have worked on with clients like APS is in terms of like, using these tools for analytics, right? A lot of times you as patent practitioners don't have time to run complex analytics, or, you have your deadlines to work with, these assistants, these agents can be amazing force multipliers for you to be able to do all sorts of analytics, right? Things that you just have an idea about. Off they go and do the research for you and give you the information that you need to make better decisions. So in real time, while you're crafting the claims, while you're crafting your patent strategy, you can have a lot more information at your fingertips in a lot more cleverer ways that are proprietary to you. So you can build a really, really intelligent firm, right, with agents. And that will mean that, you can compete with firms with, hundreds of associates, or, all sorts of different capabilities. You can compete with them on level playing field. So this is a very powerful set of tools, and it's growing rapidly. So I just wanted to share some of the capabilities here with you. And obviously,
And Samir, can I chime in with a
Yeah.
use case?
Yes,
You
please.
talk about it early. There's a thing where we all know there's expensive words that people ask in our industry, and one of them is freedom to operate. Okay. And when you look at an early stage company, let's say there's some larger players. An early stage company typically, pre-seed, doesn't have a lot of money, and typically actually even investors don't ask for FTO searches at that level, because we all know that that's an expensive question to ask a reputable law firm. Well, when you now can use AI and AI agents and platforms like IP Author, those questions become accessible from a price standpoint. You can actually ask those questions that typically you wouldn't look at. And quite honestly, a lot of those early stage companies, when they get into a Series A or Series B round, that's when they find out that foundationally there were problems, there were patent tickets they were unaware of, and now they have a problem in terms of actually getting future rounds of funding. So what we're seeing is these questions, these expensive questions that were being asked, maybe at a stage where you would say as a patent practitioner, look, your early stage, this is not necessary at this stage. A lot of investors wouldn't expect you to spend that kind of money. I think this is going to change, and I think you're going to start seeing a compression happening where those expensive questions are going to get asked.
So, and that's a great point, because that's one of the things that as you start to use these tools, what you start to see is things you otherwise could not have done because of the time, because of the investment, because you don't even know whether you're going to wind up with getting a useful result for some of these things. You can do much quicker and are actually going to be done. This opens up the possibility to do all kinds of work that you're not doing right now. And clients see it, attorneys using it see it. So I just do not think that this is going to take anybody's job in our area. I mean, AI is going to take jobs away from attorneys that do form stuff, like write form leases, write simple wills and trusts maybe. But just like there's always going to be a need for, if you have a lot of assets, you're not going to go to AI and ask for a will, right? I mean, you're just not going to do that. I mean, so in our space where you have to be describing fundamentally or searching or looking at landscapes of things that don't exist, that have never existed, or they're one-off innovation, that is a different, higher level. I am excited by what these tools allow us to do. And I think if you start using them, you're going to be very creative and see all kinds of things you can use these tools for with your clients, and to make them better off, and also to continue to expand your own business.
There's something called the Jevons Paradox, right? Like, when things become cheaper or easier to access, the more usage, the usage just explodes, right? Like, when the internet made shopping easier, people started shopping way more. That's just one
Right.
example. That is at play in coding. I'm a coder. When ever since we've had Claude Code, we've started expanding our imagination. Things that we didn't think were possible, we are able to execute and deliver to you guys, like this platform, right? And more. The same thing is likely to happen in every single domain. That is likely to happen even with respect to IP. Things, and we are already seeing that. Our clients are doing things that they never thought they would do before, because it would take like, hundreds of associate hours or thousands of hours of engineering time. They were Now
Oh.
they can do that. They were afraid to dream, oh, what if I had this piece of information, or what if I had this analysis? Now they do not hold back. They are snapping their fingers and using tools like this to have all that information, so that the decision making is a lot more data driven. And that's the world we are getting into, where knowledge work is going to just explode in terms of volume. And then we will still need patent attorneys to supervise this work, supervise this explosion of information. So yes, Gene, 100% in agreement with you and Dan and George. Like, there's no way anybody is going to lose jobs, but I think we're going to need to use these tools and get prepared to do our jobs in a very different way.
Absolutely. Well, we're 1 minute over, and what I would like to do is I would like to give each of you very rapid fire, if you can, sort of elevator pitch length, an opportunity to wrap up and punctuate what you've said here today. So the question is simply, hopefully the audience will remember more than one thing that you said, but if they can only remember one thing, what do you want that one thing to be? Dan, we'll start with you, and Samir will give you the final word. So Dan.
Pretty simple. AI has changed the world. Have you changed your process as a patent practitioner?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's changing the world, and if you're not changing, then you're going to be left behind. Thanks a lot, Dan. I really appreciate you being here. George.
Pretty much like I said at the beginning, don't be afraid. Jump in with both feet, play around with it, and do monitor what you get out of it.
Yes, great. Thanks a lot, George. And Samir, the final word goes to you.
Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you. Great discussion, great questions from the audience. I think, again, there's been a step change in how we use AI in our work. That step change is here, and it is all about agents. I want all of us today, you're here because you're interested. I want all of us to actually try it. Let us know how we can help. But please try it. You're going to enjoy the workflow. People on my team, I'll just leave you with one anecdote. People on my team are sleeping less these days because of these tools that they have access to, because now they want to give the AI work to do during the night while they sleep, so that there's work done for them when they wake up in the morning. That's how all our team members are using AI. And I'm sure you will be using AI that way also, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So please try it out.
It's funny you say that. I mean, my phone, like sometimes I will actually, when I have to get up from my desk to go to the bathroom, I will type something to AI and let it work while I'm just going
10
to,
of
then
these
I come
agents
back.
working for you, doing the same thing.
Yeah. So, and I can't agree more with what everybody said. You got to just start using it if you're not using it already, because unless you see what it can do, you're not going to, one, you're not going to believe it. And two, once you start playing with it, you're going to see all kinds of different things that you can do, your firm can do, and your clients need. I'm convinced of that. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to the panel. Samir, thank you for being here and showing us IP Author. But that's all we have for now. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.